Okay, here we are at the western end of Rosedale Street. It's a public access, and the access is at the through the trees right there at the end of the street by this big board fence. One end of Rosedale Street, the west end, ends here on Carr Inlet, Henderson Bay, and the other end ends in beautiful downtown Gig Harbor. Now here you can see the little path down to the water, kind of off to the left. And now we're taking a quick look at the path. Now you can't use the trailer here. You've got to manhandle your boats down, but it's not too bad of a job with two people doing it. Now down on the beach, you can kind of look around. You know, they've got nice handholds here. Use the madrona branches. Yeah, turn around. There's where you carry your boats down. A little bit rugged, but okay. Rosedale is very Bellevue-ish. It's Tacoma's answer to Bellevue. And now heading down to the boats to get ready to go, and Lee has beat me as usual because I'm goofing around taking pictures. That's Raft Island in the distance, and off to the left, notice a white cabin cruiser tied to a moorage buoy. Just remember that for a reference point, and I'll point it out again when we do a return trip by a different route. Hand the keys over to Lee. She's the keeper of the keys, so that solid gold electronical ignition key doesn't get dunked. He puts it in a watertight bag and in a watertight compartment. And just kind of look around at some of the surroundings. It's really a lot of really big, nicer homes, you know, mostly one percenters and yuppies and the like. So it's time to climb in the boat and go. Get this trip underway. We're headed for Cuts Island. Okay, we are just cruising along Raft Island off to our left, and we're headed for the point. And when we round the point, we get our first glimpse of our destination, which is little bitty Cuts Island. Raft Island is all more expensive homes. Raft Island is connected to the mainland with a bridge. And as I mentioned, it's all private homes and some kind of a Christian camp. Now there you have little bitty Cuts Island beginning to show up in the distance as we round the point and turn to the south. We are just rounding the northwest point of Raft Island and pointing her towards Cuts Island. Cuts Island is a state park island, and we're going to go there in search of the giant butter clams. Cuts Island has the biggest butter clams you have ever seen. They are some absolute monsters. It's a really pretty little island too. And we're continuing to zero in on it. Beautiful day in South Sound. They kind of blew the forecast, but for a change, they blew it in our advantage. We didn't get the strong winds that were predicted. They were predicting a southerly to come up, which is why we used the launch point we did. Alrighty, we are coming in for a landing on the north end of the sand spit at Cuts Island. This spit sticks out about a mile on the really big low tides. Quite an amazing feature. It's called a trailing spit. It's on the downwind side, and look out, oop, the water's getting shallow. Tickle in the bottom. Oh my goodness. Lee ran aground off to the side there, so she's gonna get out of the boat and walk it down. I was out a little bit deeper, so I just barely made it over. There we go. Now go over the end of the spit. I really cut that one close and start a little bit of a turn and go in for a landing because we spotted some clams squirting on the end of this spit. Now, where I normally dig for the giant butter clams is farther up towards the island, near where the spit joins the island. But we saw lots of clams squirting here, and so we decided to give it a try. There we go, hit the beach and climb out. Now there are, just because you see clams squirting doesn't mean it's good ones. There are, oh gosh, I don't know how many different species of clams in Puget Sound, but not all of them are really the highly desired delicacies. The ones you want are native little necks, manila little necks, butter clams, a few cockles doesn't hurt, and of course the legendary gooey duck. So we are going to give it a try. We're going to pull out the shovels and see if we can pull anything out of this spot. That's Raft Island in the distance, the island that we just came around. And looking back towards Cuts Island up the spit, right up the spine of the spit. It's really quite narrow. Now in the stuff that's covered with the green algae is where we saw all the clams squirting. Well, let's see what we can turn up. Okay, Lee is already poking around, and I am going to head down and pull stuff out of my boat. The thing I love about the old Easy Rider Seahawk is it is such a freighter. Man, you could just about put your piano in there when you want to go on a camping trip. To heck with these super sleek, fast-looking plastic yuppie fashion kayaks. Do a little magic trick here. Now, I'm not going to pull a rabbit out of my hat. I'm just going to pull something out of the kayak. It kind of slid towards the back, so I have to reach through the little hatch cover and push it forward and then bring it out behind the seat. Here we go. Whoop. There we go, full-size shovel. Let's see you do that with your plastic yuppie fashion kayak. Ha ha ha. Makes for much easier digging. So we started digging away and we were turning up clams. Actually quite a lot of them, but they were really not the most desirable type. What we were turning up in this area is eastern softshell. So we didn't hang around too long. We decided to move up to where I had got the really nice clams earlier. But I never had tried way out here on the end of the spit, so just had to give it a shot, see what's down there. Which is not much. Okay, well, enough of that. Just turned up eastern soft shells, so rather than go to all the trouble to climb, put everything away and climb in the boat, I'm just gonna pull the boat along behind me. That seemed like a much easier solution. Yeah, and we'll move up towards the much closer to the island. Catching up to Lee. And we're continuing on down, and I'm going to go past Lee. Yeah, and then I'm going to try kind of a weird little thing. When I passed Lee up, I decided to turn the camera around backwards. Headed past Lee. And now I've got the camera reversed. And you can see Raft Island in the distance and the cut or the channel between Raft Island and the mainland, which goes dry on even moderate low tides. On a big low tide like this one, it can be half a mile from the bridge to the water's edge. I mean, that channel really goes dry on low tide. And continuing on up the way, and here in a few seconds we're going to come across one of the more interesting sights here in the waters of Puget Sound. It's the largest native snail that's found in Puget Sound. Now, here we go with the moon snail. You find them retracted into their shell a lot, but it's kind of an unusual occasion that you come across one that's almost fully extended. Man, you can't believe that all that stuff fits inside that shell. Now, this is the largest native snail in the Puget Sound system. It's called a moon snail, and they are a predator of clams, primarily. You can see the pink foot sticking out of the shell there. Called Lee over. I tried not to spook him so she could get a look at him so he wouldn't suck up. Move some seaweed out of the way. Now this one isn't quite full grown. Now the shell size on a full-size adult will be about the size of a baseball. And when they're out of their shell, they can expand to the size of a dinner plate. Now, it's easy to identify the work of the moon snail. You can see his little antennas on the front. He's got a crack in his shell that has healed up. He probably got bonked by a clam digger when he was a kid. So we'll just put him back and let him go about his business. Like I was saying, when you're on the beach and you find a shell with a hole drilled very neatly a little bit forward of the hinge, that's the signature of the moon snail, where he drilled a hole and sucked the clam out. Now I'm going after the butter clams. Moving just a little ways can put you into different beach conditions, and you find different species. Now lo and behold, there comes the big butter clam. First one of the season. And boy, these butter clams on Cutts Island are as big and as nice as they get. I mean, wow, look at the size of that thing. Almost as big as a horse clam. They are really nice ones. So now we both get going, and we'll have a limit in no time at all. Dig for your dinner. You can see Lee's got a couple laying on the beach there. So they're coming out of there now. Okay, there we go, still toiling away, getting them babies out. Doesn't take too many of these to make a limit. Now the limit is an either-or type limit. Okay, here we go. We're still digging away. I moved the camera angle around so you can see a little bit better as to what's going on. Lee's turning up another good one there, I think. You see, she's got a nice little pile of clams going over there. The limit, as I was going to say earlier, is an either-or limit. You're allowed either 10 pounds or 40 clams, whichever adds up first. Here we go, there's another nice big one. Yep, that's a nice one. When you're digging the smaller clams, like your steamer clams, 40 pounds or 40 clams will not add up to 10 pounds. But with these big guys, it only took 8 clams to make a limit. Here's Lee going after some more. Now, it's also important to backfill your holes when you're through digging, and there's a good reason for that. The reason you backfill your holes is because all that dirt that you threw aside covers up the breathing holes of clams next to it that you haven't dug. And with their breathing holes covered up, they'll suffocate. So it's important that you shovel all that stuff back off and put it in the hole that it came out of. Yep, dead shell. The shovel makes a distinctive sound when it touches the shell, so you know they're down there. There, she got him. That's a nice one. Yep, that's a nice one. Boy, these guys are big. There you go, Lee. Smile with your prize. Yum. Okay, now it's time to wash them off. Because, you got to wash them off because you don't want to be counting beach sand as part of your weight limit when they're in your bucket. Like I say, the game department's really hot on these guys. Although we did not see a game warden this trip. Just take them out, and rinse them off. Get all the sand off. Makes for a nice, cleaner product. And there's how things are going so far. Those are nice big clams. Really fat. And now you got to weigh them to make sure you're not over your limit. So I carry a little El Cheapo fishing scale with me. You can get these guys for like $5 to $7 at about any sporting goods store. Get the water out of the bucket, once again, so you're not counting water as part of your weight limit. Now see how many I've got in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's see what the scale says. Scale says 10 pounds on the nose. Now, when we dig butter clams at Hope Island, there you are, 10 pounds. We dig at Hope Island, it takes 12 to 15 clams to make 10 pounds. So these are really, really big. Okay, it is time to leave beautiful Cuts Island, and boy, I tell you, this was a rare day. Because of its close proximity to Gig Harbor and Tacoma, on a sunny summer weekend, this island can be overrun. I mean, it can just be a zoo with screaming brats and barking dogs and a lethal mix of Gig Harbor yuppies and backwoods bubbas. I'm just doing a little 360 here to take a look at the island another time, and the sand spit is getting smaller by the instant. As the tide rises, it shrinks up really fast, and pretty soon it'll be all gone. Now, the point of the mainland over there on your left is where Kopachuk State Park is. Kopachuk State Park used to have a campground, but it's day use only now. They closed the campground because trees had root rot and they were afraid they were going to fall on somebody. Now finally another boat came in. You can see another boat landed on the spit out there. It is an extremely rare occasion you have a day like this and have this little island all to yourself. That just doesn't happen very often. Now the bow's pointing towards Raft Island. And the cut, or the channel between Raft Island and the mainland is still dry, but we'll take a nice leisurely pace over there, and it'll have water in it by the time we get there. And that way we take a different route home. was pretty darn shallow when we finally got there, but we managed to slide over the bottom and make it through okay. Fabulous day. When we get out a little bit farther, I'll do another 360-degree turn and take a look at the island from a little bit farther out. Airplanes rumbling around in the background is what I need. Unbelievable flat water today. They had forecast a southerly, which was supposed to raise a little bit of wind chop, but it hasn't happened, so they blew the forecast in our favor this time. Okay, now I'm starting another turn. Just spin it. Now the bow of the boat is pointing just about at Kopachuk State Park on the mainland. Yeah, now we're back to Cutts Island. And the spit is almost all gone. Reclaimed by the rising tide. Beautiful calm day in South Sound. It's a spray skirt free zone. And now bring her back up to an easy, slow cruising speed and proceed on towards the channel between Raft Island and the mainland. And we're coming up on the bridge. Bridge can be a good place to gather mussels. There's lots of them on there. The thing that's nice about this route, you get to see a little bit different scenery going both ways. Now, after we go under the bridge, we're going to see something that wasn't there last time I did this. The last few times we've done this trip, because of wind and water conditions, we've gone back around the northwest tip of Raft Island and went back in the same way we came. But after we get through here, there's something really unique happened on Raft Island. It's coming up here shortly. And here we go. Now look out in the water just to the right of Lee. There's a standing tree way the heck out in the water. Now how in the world did that get there? Now looking at things, it's obviously what happened was during one of our rain events or something where we've had so much rain the last couple of winters that a huge slab of earth obviously let go on the hillside and slid down into the bay, and it took a bunch of trees with it, and they stayed in the standing position. The trees just all moved down the bank and out into the bay on this big slab of earth. There's a house up there that is abandoned, has probably been condemned, and it's for sale. You can buy a condemned house in a slide zone really cheap. You can see the other trees on the beach that have been cut off are still in the standing position, and they also probably came from well up the hill as the whole slab came off and just moved out into the bay. See standing trees all the time in Potholes Reservoir in eastern Washington, but not in Puget Sound. It's really kind of weird. There's a view of the house and the slide area next to it. Really a huge chunk. Looks like the entire south end all the way around the corner of the island slid. It's too bad it didn't take the Christian camp with it. They don't call it South Sound for no reason, man. There's more Christian camps scattered around South Sound than anywhere else in the state. Forcing religion down the throats of children who are too young to think for themselves. And now we are rounding the southeast tip of Raft Island, and there's the cruiser hanging on the anchor buoy that I pointed out when we first got in the water and got started. So you see we've gone around Raft Island, and the Rosedale public access, the street end, is just to the right-hand side of the stern of the cruiser in that stand of trees. We're just going to take the direct route and pass by the cruiser and get right back there to where we started. Couldn't ask for a better day. And now we're arriving back at the Rosedale public access, and that guy's little beach shack, which it looks like he stores boat equipment in, is the reference point that you look for when you're coming back. I do have it marked on the GPS. You can see the path up there where we came down. Crunch, we're on the shore. Now comes the hardest part of the trip, packing all the stuff back up the hill and putting it in the car. Good trip on South Sound today. Thanks for coming along with us. And remember, bottom feeders, keep your gills wet and your mouths in the mud, and any trip you come back from is a good one.